We use the idea of I can't start yet because it's not perfect as the defense mechanism against your fear of failure.
If you wait for it to be perfect, you're never going to start.
I think I could have been a year and a half ahead of myself if I would have stopped doing that. Oh, I need to learn more. I need to learn more before I can put myself out there.
Build your parachute on the way down. And what you have to be comfortable with is jumping.
There's a ton of naysayers out there saying, uh-oh, AI is going to take over. We're all going to lose our jobs. None of us are going to have anything to do. I'd love to hear from your perspective.
People have so much information that they don't know what to do with it. It takes experience. It takes wisdom to know what to do with that knowledge to make it effective.
Yep.
And that is the point that I think most people are missing right now.
Because now it's not difficult to learn to sell online. And so if you're interested in leveraging AI, all you have to do is open a free service like Perplexity, ask some questions, and you're right here on the same playing field with people who have been trying to do the same things for decades.
I have to remind myself, it's not hard, it's just new.
We've never had some of the capabilities that we have today from a speed perspective, from an implementation, from a quality perspective. I'd love to get your perspective as a group on that. What do you see coming in the future in the next maybe 6 to 12 months as it relates to AI in business? Where are we headed?
I think you're going to see.
Basically,
one of the most interesting things about where we are.
But to see where that's going to be 6 months from now, I think is going to be pretty incredible.
All right, welcome everybody to this episode of the AI Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and I'm really excited today. Generally, as you guys know, we do a one-on-one conversation with another business owner or executive and somebody. We talk about how they've implemented AI in their business. And today we're going to do that, but we're going to multiply it times 4. And I'm really excited today to have Gjoa and Shannon and Clay and Ryan with me. We're all going to be talking about the journeys that they've taken over the last year or so as AI has really allowed them to kind of reinvent themselves, not totally, but to a large extent, with new businesses, new services, expanded services and all that. And I thought this would be a great opportunity because so often I talk to people that are like, Jonathan, I get it, but I'm just not sure what to do. And each of these amazing people has had the opportunity to both get messy success and then get things refined and now continue on as they grow. And I'm really looking forward to hearing their stories. So let's kick things off with ladies first. Gjoa, we'll start with you, and then Shannon, then we'll go Clay and Ryan. But if you could, 30-second overview, who are you? And tell us just a little bit about who you serve.
Sure. Hi, my name's Gjoa Crandell. I started working with Jonathan couple years ago now and really embraced the AI. So all of the things about AI and the fun things you can do with it. I was a corporate person, worked in corporate for 35 years, and this summer was unfortunately laid off, but I'm embracing the opportunity as a promotion and starting a new coaching website, which will be called AI Training Headquarters or HQ. So I really embraced over the past year and a half or so learning AI and automation, specifically no-code automation. I've been doing that to make extra money, and I want to teach people how to do the same thing here coming up next year.
Awesome. Love it. Shannon, how about yourself?
Well, I'm Shannon Cascio. I've been in my own business, not big corp. I was in my own little corp and running youth services through my licensed school age childcare center and also martial arts school. And when times got a little tough, I decided to try and do some online training for teachers and parents. And I didn't get that far into AI before I fell in love with images, and luckily also fell into Jonathan's orbit and learned enough about Midjourney to start being a little dangerous with it. And my addiction turned into a way to do digital trainings for people who were looking to kind of leverage AI and images for their own businesses. So I've been having a blast. I've done, I think I've done about 600 trainings, meaning I've had 7 trainings and about 600, students through them. And it's just been so much fun. I have such a great tribe, and I just can't wait to see where we go next.
I love it. I love it. And on to the guys. Clay, tell us a little bit about, again, your background and who you serve now.
Sure. Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate it. I'm coming out of a career in real estate where I've done a little bit of everything over the last 20 years, and I am seeking to kind of leverage what I've learned to teach people the fundamentals of scaling a business without burning themselves out and AI as a force multiplier and getting them there. So, over the course of the last year, I've started by growing a community on Facebook, following much of what I've learned through your trainings, Jonathan, and really enjoying everything that has brought with it, meaning the challenges, but also, this community now has approximately 2,300 members from 65 countries, which for, a redneck from Florida kind of blows my mind. And I just can't wait to see what the future holds.
Awesome. I love it. Fantastic. And I don't know, it doesn't look red from here, Clay, so you're good, man. Little shine on the top maybe, but no redneck. We're good. Ryan, how about yourself?
Yeah, so for me, it was mid 2024, and I was coming up on a 20-year corporate career with a Fortune 30 tech company, and like many people in that world, I was finding myself burnout, just ready to make a change. So I had the opportunity to do that, and I went from Fortune 30 product manager to owning my own business. Floundered for a bit. Took me a while to figure out that my opportunity for what I was going to do in the entrepreneurial space was right in front of me, which was leverage that product management skill and the experiences and wisdom that I'd acquired over those 20 years to help entrepreneurs design, launch, and scale their own digital offers. So when I was just kind of new in the space, I tripped and fell into Jonathan's orbit, and the rest is history. I think he's really helped me to take AI and turn it into, as Clay put it, my force multiplier to kind of do over the last year what would have probably taken me at least 10 years to do. So I'm excited to be here, Jonathan.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have everybody. And I want to take a start with, I guess, kind of at the beginning. Clay and Shannon, you guys have both owned businesses in the past and come from an entrepreneurial kind of background, having owned other businesses. And Gjoa and Ryan more on the corporate side. And I think that's great because we get to balance both of that. But I'd like to ask you, a lot of people, as you know, they think that everybody becomes an overnight success. And thank you, Clay, for laughing, because that's what I want to do when I hear that. Those overnight successes are often 10 or 20 years in the making to get there. And I want to talk a little bit about starting what I call messy. In other words, you guys have heard me say in our mastermind sessions, building the plane as it's taking off and that type of thing. You guys may have different opinions on it. We haven't talked a lot about that, but I'd like you to describe to me what is your perspective on perfection and starting, if you would? And you guys can just jump in it. Well, we won't necessarily go totally round robin, but I'd love you to get your perspective to that entrepreneur out there who's going, I'm not ready to start because it's not perfect yet.
If you wait for it to be perfect, you're never going to start.
Yeah, I think they're almost on opposite ends of the spectrum, perfection and starting. And I think that we use it as a defense mechanism, meaning we use the idea of I can't start yet because it's not perfect as the defense mechanism against your fear of failure. I think that, I've seen a number of memes in the last few weeks, and I don't know if I'm seeing them because it's a reminder for me or if it's just become more of a talking point. But just the idea around what Ryan just said, which is, if you wait for it to be perfect, you're never going to start, and start messy and clean it up as you go. Done is better than perfect, good is the enemy of perfect. All of those things are so true. So I think you can't wait for perfection. It will never be perfect. Just start.
I think, you may flounder around, and it's because of that you're scared. But I've really embraced this the past 8 weeks or so. I think I could have been a year and a half ahead of myself if I would have stopped doing that. Oh, I need to learn more before I can put myself out there. So, I know we've all heard it, but the best time to plant a tree was, 20 years ago. Yes. But if not, then do it today.
Is now.
So,
Yep.
That's so good. Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. That's so true. Well, and Joe, I know in your case, I really have seen you in the last 2 to 3 months just come on fire after lots of training classes and lots of conversations, and even remember, doing a training where you helped participate and share some stuff. You've been ready, but it seemed like you struggled a little bit. Could I ask bluntly, is that something you struggled with a little bit about how to get past go, so to speak, on the starting side, or was it all intentional that it's really been the last 2 to 3 months that all of a sudden it seems like you've stepped on the accelerator?
No. So at first it was just balancing life. I was working a full-time career and trying to get a little side hustle with the AI going. And then once I was laid off, then I had a little bit extra time and got sick. And it just kind of crawled back into I think it's fear of putting yourself out there. And, there was a training, and I don't remember who said it or which training of yours it was, but you said, somebody said something about they were scared to put themselves out there or scared to do something on social media. And you bluntly asked them, who's going to pay your bills? And so just things like that really have made me realize I want to help people. I'm not helping people by staying in my little comfy shell and doing my little one-off automation for clients. So if I want to get things and help more people in the world and get it out there, I've got to put myself out there.
Yep.
I was just kind of laughing when she said that, because I do remember, I don't remember which training, but I do remember when you said that. And I actually said it in my training earlier today. It was about, making products. And I said, Jonathan Mast says that if you're going to worry about what you're going to put out on your social, we were talking about, if you're going to do a thing and you're going to market the thing, you need to be able to tell the people about the thing. And that's absolutely okay. You can go on your professional page or your personal page, and there's, Joe is great about explaining how to take your Facebook page, and you can show grandma the pictures of your kids, and you can split up your Facebook page so that people who follow you don't see the things you don't want them to see. If what you're concerned about is your family and your friends who are supposed to love and support you, seeing you try your best at something that is going to pay your bills or fill your heart with joy, then maybe those are the wrong people for you to be worrying about impressing, because, you hope that you have the right people in your tribe, that they're going to be happy for you, even if they're seeing you post a ton of videos because that's what you're into right now. I always say, build your parachute on the way down. And what you have to be comfortable with is jumping. Because when people ask me, how did you know it was time to start KidSpace? And it was like, because my life circumstances required that I start a business so that I could be free from a situation I was in and have my kids with me. And so that was the right time. And I was not 1,000% ready. What I became good at was negotiating with myself, with my new landlord, with the building department, with all of the things that I was trying to figure out at that time. And if I had waited until I had the exact amount of money and all of the experience, I would still be trying to start 20 years later. So you do the things that you can do, and then you learn the things you need to learn as you go.
I'd love to find out from you guys. You guys all are pursuing some things you're passionate about. Was that just the timing, that it was the right time, or did the ability to leverage AI to amplify some of those skills that you have, did that play into your decision to do that now at this point in life? Anybody want to share on that?
Yeah, I will. It wasn't even on my radar to get into what I'm doing now before I got into AI. I connected with you to figure out ways to create AI tools for my title company. And then joining your mastermind, I, saw what you were doing, but then also one of the things I love about the mastermind is not, and no offense, I love what I learned from you, but I learned a ton from the community as well. And I started to see what others were doing in the space, and it inspired me to realize that, hey, it's kind of unique for somebody to have my background and my expertise and my experience, and I could share that with other people. And AI, like one of the things that Shannon just said that, was figure out what you need to figure out. It's never been easier than it is today, because you can have AI as your thought partner as you're figuring these things out. So for me, this wasn't just a coincidence of timing. It was, an inspiration that came from engaging in AI and then networking with people like you and the people in your mastermind.
I love that. I love the fact that it wasn't something that was, you were dreaming of doing this and AI just helped unlock the door. AI literally unlocked a whole new chapter you hadn't even thought about then. Is that correct, Clay?
That would be an accurate assessment, sir.
All right, cool. No, you don't need to keep with the sir, really. That's
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How about the others of you? Was it an AI thing or was it just the right time in life, or a combination?
For me, it was a combination of both, because I had the opportunity to leave my job with a little bit of a extra incentive, and I've always been a nerd at heart. I've always been the early adopter of the bleeding edge technology, but for some reason, I think I was late to AI just because of a symptom of the burnout, just like what my corporate career had done to me. So
Right.
I was late to the game with getting involved with AI, and here I had served my last day on my 20-year career of my job, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And for all intents and purposes, I was looking at different opportunities. I had been considering starting my own business since the end of 2023. And it was really getting into AI that was the thing that pushed me over the line and made me decide, like, yes, I can do this. I'm not going to go find another job. I'm going to find a way to make it, to make my own business work. And honestly, Jonathan, that was the point where I had stumbled into your orbit. I didn't really know anything about AI at that point. But, I started to see, I actually stumbled across your group and then got very curious. And for me, AI was the thing, like, for me, I just need a starting point. And that's what AI helps me with the most. It's my idea generator. It's get me going. And I can take any idea that AI gives me and run with it. And the thing that I always caution people to be careful of is, like, AI will give you everything you could ever, anything you could ever possibly need. But some people just take what AI gives them and they don't iterate on it. They don't try to make it better. They don't make it their own. So that was really, like, for me, that was the biggest game changer. That was the biggest force multiplier to really put out, to throw out all the cliche terms. It helped me figure out what I was going to do, and from there I was able to just build on that and make it my own and just kind of take it one step at a time until I really figured out what my business was going to be.
I love that. How about you, Joey? You were going to say something.
Yeah, I think mine's kind of a hybrid of all of that. So
That's
I
fair.
found AI in 2022. Originally, the first AI platform I found was Midjourney.
Okay.
So I was working my corporate healthcare job, but I also had a craft blog on the side.
In case you
So
didn't
my
know,
craft,
Joa's little craft blog has 90,000 people in it.
Yeah, it's just a little one. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just a
Tiny little
little
craft
craft blog.
blog.
Yeah. So I went down the path of Midjourney and creating images to go along with my craft blog and to come up with projects that people could use, with those images. Quite frankly, between working full time and managing a little craft blog with 90,000 subscribers, I just got burnt out. And I was making SVG designs specifically for Cricut users. So selling digital products, basically, is that whole process and making YouTube videos and whatnot. And I love the teaching aspect. I loved the community aspect. I just got burnt out on using Illustrator all the dang time. And it was very tedious, the types of designs I was doing. And I thought, once I became comfortable in using the AI, then I'm like, I could teach this. I would love to teach this. And I've had that audience before, and I know there's people that could really benefit from either their careers and hopefully keeping jobs safe and, expanding their knowledge, or to use it to make more money. So, that's the path that I just want to share this with. Yeah, we get caught up, I think, those of us in AI and think, oh, everybody knows this. But when I talk to friends and family outside of it, like my sister at first was like, yeah, whatever. This was a year ago. And now more and more, she's like, I really need you to teach me some stuff. So, that people are coming around to learn that they probably should look into this a little bit more. And not everybody knows everything that we do.
It's so true. I think to a certain extent we live in a bit of a bubble because we're into the AI and we kind of think everybody knows it. And so oftentimes when we look at it, even though you're all leveraging AI in aspects of your business, we often think, well, everybody's doing this, when the reality is, at least according to the studies I'm reading, less than 20% of the businesses out there are actively using AI. I'd love to hear from your perspective, as each of you have reached out to different marketplaces. Are you finding out that the people that you're talking to are already using AI extensively and you're just coming in kind of on the back end? Or are you finding that maybe they need what they need to accomplish a goal, but they're not necessarily leaning into AI as part of that.
The reason I started teaching people in our orbit, which was originally yours, Jonathan, is because my goal was to teach teachers and parents, but none of them were ready yet. So coming in after the first of the year, I immediately started taking your classes and I was creating custom GPTs and people didn't know what ChatGPT was. And I was trying to have teachers use AI because I was using it in my after school facility and everyone went, "Shh, AI." And no one was ready. And so I had to flip my business plan into teaching to the people who were already in our orbit because the people right outside our bubble were not ready. I'm just now realizing that because it's been in the news so much, teachers and parents are finally starting to get a little bit of an idea about using AI and, different articles and news, news agencies are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, a lot of them are not ready to actually use it the way that we know it can be used. And never mind business owners. A lot of business owners are still so antiquated with the systems they're using. They're just not ready to jump in and start using custom GPTs, never mind using agents and Manus so I'm hoping that this year things will open up a little more and then all of us can expand our customer base a little bit into people that are going to get more comfortable with AI.
I'm really finding that it's a mixed bag at this point, Jonathan. For me, I'm looking at it, and I think where we are currently is like where we were in the late 90s, early 2000s with the internet. Everybody's aware of AI. They know that it's out there. It's a very strong buzzword right now, but most people have no earthly idea what it means when you start to unpack everything that is contained within the concept of AI, right? It's been around since the 50s, but most people have no idea what has transpired over the last 2 years or so. And specifically with the people that I serve, entrepreneurs, it's just they have no idea how they can take AI and just streamline their entire business from any perspective. Like no matter what the bottleneck, whatever the constraint may be, they can use AI to improve it from every angle. And then the other big thing that I've noticed is in talking to people who are still in the corporate world, people like friends, family, and former peers, most of the people in that space are afraid of AI. Like I talked to a good friend of mine who's a solutions architect for Salesforce, and he doesn't even want to talk about AI because he's just afraid that it's going to take his job. Like that's all that people are talking about is how much of a reduction in force the capabilities of AI are resulting in. But from my perspective, when I look at where I was in the corporate world, if I had access to the same tools that I can use today in my corporate job, I could probably be at least 20 times as productive as I was. I could have been leading 20 times the number of products that I was leading because AI could have taken care of all of the administrative, tasky, time-consuming things, and I could have been left to what I do best.
I love where you're headed with that into the what I would call the amplifying your skill and expertise. There are a lot of naysayers out there. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion as a group. There's a ton of naysayers out there saying, "Oh, AI is going to take over. We're all going to lose our jobs. None of us are going to have anything to do." Just this job apocalypse that we hear talked about a lot. I'd love to hear from your perspective, Ryan. You shared a little bit, and thank you for the nice entry into that. But Clay and Shannon and Gjoa, what are your thoughts on that? To that, and I'm especially, I guess, interested in Gjoa and Ryan. I know you shared a little bit, having been in corporate. Shannon and Clay and myself are all entrepreneurs, and so we've been working for ourselves because nobody wants to hire us for a long time. Sorry, it's just the truth.
Guilty.
But I'd love to hear from you, Gjoa and Ryan, and Clay, you and Shannon afterwards. But what about this fear mongering that's going on? Is it legit that oh my gosh, all these jobs are going to be lost to AI?
My opinion, I do think maybe a few jobs will be lost to AI, but I don't think it's the whole, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. There will also be many, many new jobs created by AI. So, I think about when I started my career in 1990, back in the 1900s, as my daughter would say. I was working for a major health insurance company, and we still had the what did they call them, CRTs, like the dumb terminals, where you did data
like
entry
and
so things, and then the internet came along, and things have changed. I mean, there aren't truly secretaries like there were secretaries in the 50s and 60s, and that's because technology changed. Now, does
Yeah.
that mean all of those secretaries? No, you need to learn to upscale yourself and be able to use the technology so that either you are future proofing yourself in your current corporation, you can start a new business, you can, you know, expand your business with the use of AI. That's my thought process in the whole thing. I like I said, I do think there could be a few jobs affected,
Sure.
but there'll be many more jobs created, and it'll just look different.
Well, I
Right.
appreciate that because a lot of people, I say often similar things, but people say, well, Jonathan, you haven't worked for anybody else in almost 15 years. Of course, you're not worried about it, but we all have jobs and we're worried about it. Ryan, your perspective, you said, you came from corporate, you talked about how you thought AI would have made you a lot more productive. If it made you 20 times more productive, wouldn't have that meant that the business, the large multinational corporation you worked for only needed 1/20th of the people?
I definitely think that there's some truth to that, and I agree with everything Gjoa said. I think, I'm not the first person to say this, but it's not that your job is not going to get replaced by AI, but I think there's a high likelihood that your job could be replaced by a person who is using AI to a different degree than what you're using. And the way that I look at it, Jonathan, is it's the evolution of the dissemination of knowledge, right? It's like if you look at before the printing press was ever invented, or before the textile machines were invented, like you needed people to do the things. You needed people to sit there and manually scribe information. You needed people to sit there and sew, right? But as technology has advanced, it's changed the things that we need people to actually do. And this is, I think, people who are looking at AI as something that takes away are looking at it from the wrong perspective, because AI is something that adds to. There's never been a point in human history where we've had access to more information. It's to the point where people have so much information that they don't know what to do with it. So I think at this point, it makes humans, and especially humans with specialized areas of knowledge or expertise, even more valuable than they ever have been before, because it takes experience, it takes wisdom to know what to do with that knowledge to make it effective.
Yep.
And that is the point that I think most people are missing right now.
I think that's really good. Clay and Joy, again, you, like me, come from an entrepreneurial background. You guys both own other businesses and that. I'd love to hear your perspectives on that. I'm literally, as we're looking at it, I'm looking on Facebook at a post and it says, AI is going to take 40% of the jobs in the next 5 years. I don't know where that stat's coming from. I'm certainly not claiming it to be true. I admit, I think it's total bunk, but I'd love to hear from your perspective, Clay and Shannon. How do you guys feel about that?
If it would start with taking away my job, I would greatly appreciate it. So the way I'm looking at it from like a business owner standpoint, I don't want to eliminate anybody on my team. I really don't.
Yeah.
I want to equip them to do more, and to do less of what they hate to do and more of what they love to do, The thing that I think the biggest opportunity for us as business owners is to take away the minutia, and let your people really pour their energy into the things that make your business special and different. And, that's my goal. I mean, I think, there's no two ways around it. There's going to be disruption, but life is disruption.
Absolutely.
So, I think that you have to have a curiosity mindset. I think that was true before AI. I think it'll be true after AI. I think it'll be true until the end of time. And, if you have to seek personal growth or you will be replaced. There's no stagnant, there's no being the same. You're either growing or you're shrinking. So, with the way I think about that with AI is, embrace it, engage with it, see where it takes you. It's not going away. You can't bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not here. So take personal responsibility, look at how it's going to potentially impact your business and seek how you can make yourself more valuable.
I love that. Kind of fits in with what Ryan was talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe not so likely to be replaced by AI, but be replaced by someone using AI better than you're using it. I like that. Yeah. Shannon, what are your thoughts?
Well, what that makes me think about is how, I guess almost 30 years ago, when I was first selling online on eBay, in order to do that, you were dealing with dial-up, You needed to learn HTML code if you wanted to stand out. And everything was hard. It was not PayPal, it was X.com. There was only one format. Nobody knew what we were doing. And somehow a lot of people managed to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people like, I don't want to just say like us, but people like us who work hard to figure out things as they come along did well then. We are much more likely to maybe be successful now because things are easier. But you know what? The people who might have had a difficult time back then could leverage everything that's happening now and be on a level playing field with us. And by us, I mean people who are early adopters, right? Because now it's not difficult to learn to sell online. Like Ryan said, their information is everywhere. And so if you're interested in leveraging AI, all you have to do is open a free service like Perplexity or Manus, when you can chat for free, ask some questions, and you're right here on the same playing field with people who have been trying to do the same things for decades. So, when people say, oh, well, we're people are going to lose their jobs. Well, now's the time when you can leverage so many things that maybe your next job is going to be better than your old job.
I love that. And it's interesting. I've studied history quite a bit and looked back as far as the printing press and the steam engine and the internal combustion engine and PCs and the internet and all that. And every step of the way, people were like, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. Everybody's going to lose their jobs. And ironically, I used to live in an Amish community. There wasn't even there a buggy whip manufacturer. They've lost that. But those same Amish craftsmen are now doing other things. And everybody else that used to make buggy whips got a job, building cars for Henry Ford or whatever the case was. So there's always new things. Gjoa, you mentioned that, we're going to see so many new opportunities, and I couldn't agree more. I'd love to get your perspective. Last week I was speaking about this, and somebody asked me, what do you think's new? And I honestly think because we've never been here before, this is almost like Star Trek. We're looking into something that we can't even fully predict because we've never had some of the capabilities that we have today from a speed perspective, from an implementation, from a quality perspective. I'd love to get your perspective as a group on that. What do you see coming in the future in the next maybe 6 to 12 months as it relates to AI and business? And what do you think of that concept of mine that we really don't know because we've never been there before? And I'm not even sure it's kind of like that 4-minute mile until whoever it was that first broke the 4-minute mile. People used to say it was a physical impossibility. And then they broke it. And all of a sudden, like 30 people in the next few months or a year broke that. I think that's the same type of place we're at, except that we can't even see that it's the 4-minute mile that we're going to try to beat. Ladies first, what do you guys think? Thoughts on the future and on where are we headed?
I think you're going to see people starting their own businesses similar to what we have done. These very small business solopreneurs making a lot more money than they would have been able to in the past. And who, I don't remember who it was. One of the big AI CEOs have said, that they're within the next year or two, we'll see the first $1 billion company with a solopreneur.
Yeah.
So, just the landscape, I think, of business may change a little bit. You'll see a lot more of these smaller businesses, people working at home, just doing their own thing and yet making really good money. And that's because they're able to leverage AI to be that 20 times, as Ryan mentioned, to increase your output. So I don't think I know exactly what it looks like, but it's coming.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. That gig economy that all of a sudden got a foothold in COVID, I think is now going to get rocket fuel with AI. I really, really do believe that.
Yep.
Shannon, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Basically, I agree 100% with what Gjoa said. But for me, I think of it from an education standpoint, not just schools and kids and teachers, but any of us that want to learn anything. That's the biggest jump start I've seen. I was explaining to my son who was wanting to learn video editing. And I said, oh, hold on, don't take that year-long course in video editing, because by the time you're done, everything's going to have changed so much. And I shifted him towards having a conversation with Manus. And in 3 months, he's pretty much learned everything that he wanted to know that he was planning on getting a degree in. And so this has opened up not just a huge benefit for people who are trying to expand their business with, with using AI, but to learn something, to start a business or to learn anything. It's never been easier for people to leverage these tools in front of us to get ahead. And so now's the time. You're going to learn something. So for me, I look at that and go, what could that mean in the future? Well, maybe it means that kids going to school are finally going to be able to learn the way that they're best able to learn,
Mm.
because a teacher who cannot sit in a classroom and individualize curriculum for 32 students and now individualize curriculum for 32 students. And that to me means that everything in the future is going to be better.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about that, and I'll come back in a minute, Clay, to you and Ryan. But you mentioned something there that I actually think is literally doable today in school. And that's that teacher, when they're teaching, and we'll pick algebra, they're teaching algebra, they're going to have a lesson plan and they're going to have a way they need to do it. But in most schools around, at least in the US, most schools, kids have a tablet or a Chromebook or something like that already on their desk. What's to stop AI from literally taking that lesson plan that, Shannon, you're teaching as the teacher and going, Jonathan, you're nuts about motorcycles, so I'm going to teach you the algebraic concepts that Shannon's now teaching you through the filter of how they apply to motorcycles. Would I not be more or less interested in what you're doing? And even better, my wife, who's sitting in the same class, who loves embroidery, could learn algebra through the lens of embroidery. That's, I think, one of the biggest changes that, of course, the education system is a whole nother topic, but isn't necessarily thinking about. I think this can provide education and excitement to our kids like we've never dreamed possible. Is that kind of where you're leaning with that, Shannon?
Well, you're not wrong. And do I wish they were doing it already? Absolutely. Because I have been involved in homeschooling since both my boys, who are in their 30s, were started school. And you could take a lesson plan, even back then without AI, and divide it up for a few. And now AI has given us the option of doing it for the many. And I don't know what school systems and administrators are afraid of, but I can tell you that the teachers that I know would welcome a chance to give kids an opportunity to learn something the way that they can best learn it, because the success of the students is supposed to be the goal of a good school system. And absolutely, if you can take a curriculum and you can have it set aside so we can make changes for someone who has an IEP. I don't know what the acronym would be, but why not make it so Jonathan can learn about motorcycles and Beth can learn about crocheting or embroidery, because the point is to get the knowledge so you can use it. How you get the knowledge is not as important as having the concept. So 1,000%, I hope that's where we're going, because it could be done now and it should be done soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly think there was some simple prompting that could be happening next week, Monday, in schools. Literally, I think we're that close to it. Clay, you were going to say something, and I kind of interrupted you.
No,
What
no,
do you
no.
want to add to that?
It just reminds me of the movies where you would see in the future, you'd have a group of people from different countries or planets sitting around, and they all had on a little translator. The speaker was speaking in their native tongue, but everyone could hear the way that they could understand it. It's a similar concept. Teachers teaching in the manner in which they want to teach, but the students receiving it in the manner in which they will best understand it. That'd be beautiful.
I love that. I love that. Clay and Ryan, what are your guys' perspective on what's the future hold, and can we even see it, or are we going to find ourselves literally, exploring a bold, brand new world in many ways?
So, Jonathan, you mentioned, you asked the question, what are things going to look like in 6 to 12 months? I think that one of the most interesting things about where we are as a human race right now is that I don't think any one of us can predict what's going to happen next week, especially from the perspective of AI. And I don't think that's ever been true before. And that's just going to become more and more the case. Like the possibilities for the advancements of technology because of AI are just unlimited. And that just blows my mind. So, and I really think about that, especially through the example of Shannon's area of expertise, because she chose AI visual assets as her niche. And I just think about how much that's evolved, and especially video, just over the last couple of months. And it's absolutely insane. So to me, to sit here in November of 2025, I have no earthly idea what things are going to look like just at the beginning of the year, and nothing has ever been more exciting to me than that.
I love that. I couldn't agree with you more. Clay, any thoughts?
Yeah, I know exactly what's coming in the next 6 to 12 months. I can't tell you guys here now. This isn't the right forum, but just pay attention. The thing I'm most excited to see is
vote for Clay now, right?
Vote for Clay, right?
The continued evolution of agentic AI is exciting to me. A lot of times when I speak to business owners about AI, what they're really asking about is automation, which, Gjoa, that's good news for you. But a lot of times they'll say, oh, I want it to do X, Y, or Z. And agentic AI is kind of like the marriage between, AI's capabilities and bringing in some degree of automation. They want to be hands off. And it's just so fun to watch Manus or Comet work when you put it on a task. But to see where that's going to be 6 months from now, I think is going to be pretty incredible.
Absolutely. I think there's so many things we can't even quite imagine.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Clay. Agentic AI and the ability to start with a outcome and have it kind of figure out all the steps in between and take over and do things amazes me. Just combined with, to me, one of the things we haven't talked about that I think is exciting is I'm old enough, older than most of you, to remember when, browsers came on the scene and Netscape was important and all these types of things. Now we're seeing these new AI browsers and the capabilities to be able to use AI on virtually any website or page and use it instantly is just blowing my mind. I mean, just even today, we were working on some marketing copy for an upcoming training. And I asked my marketing manager, do we happen to have a list of all of our training courses that we can give to the AI models that's writing copy? We were working on Black Friday copy. She goes, yeah, but let me go find it. While she was looking for it in Google Drive, which generally doesn't take more than a minute or two to find, I went into my Comet browser by Perplexity and I loaded up our shop page and I said, can you just give me in a table all of the training classes, a 2-sentence summary, a link, and the price? And before she got back to me with her link, which took her less than 2 minutes, Comet had actually created the table and had everything in it. And she was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? And I'm like, I just asked Comet to do it for me.
Yeah.
That's, again, one of those things that I think of that we've never been able to do that type of thing before. We can't even really do that with ChatGPT and Gemini because it doesn't necessarily always want to cooperate, or it tells us it can't read something or whatever. But by giving that visual of the screen to, in this case, Perplexity, and let it click on each of the links. I mean, I couldn't believe it started coming back with summaries in seconds. I don't know how it clicked the link and saw it that fast. Just blows my mind. What do you guys think? Have you played with these new AI browsers? And if so, one, how do you think they're going to impact us? And two, how are they impacting your business? What, if anything, are you doing with them to help make you and your teams more productive?
I did something really similar this weekend. I was working on training I have coming up on content repurposing. I realized I was doing half of what I'm teaching, I'm doing well. Half of what I'm teaching, I'm not doing so well. Half being taking content you've already created and then using it again. And so I thought, well, what better place to start than cataloging my blogs? So I almost the exact same thing you did. I brought Comment to my blog page and asked it to create a table with the date published, the title, a link to the blog, and then a summary of the blog. And it went through and did that for almost 70 blogs. So now I have all that content to pull from. Another way that I use it is when I'm wanting to engage with a particular ideal client. I find that they hang out in a particular group on Facebook or somewhere else online. I have the Comet browser peruse that group to give me a feel for what posts are driving engagement, what are the types of people that are in there, what questions are they asking, just to get as much information as I can to determine the best way to engage with that ideal client type.
So good. I love that. Very practical, very simple. Do you find it's also just unbelievably fast?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how quickly it moves through that stuff.
Very, very cool. Anybody else? Any thoughts on the new AI browsers at all?
I have used Comet when I've been stuck on automations, both in Make and N8N, and it'll help you identify, it can look at the error, and especially N8N, there's so much information there. It can take you to right where the issue is and help you fix it. just mind-blowing to me.
Ryan?
Yeah, I was gonna switch gears a little bit. It's not necessarily an agentic browser per se, but I think it's still agentic in nature, and I wanted to talk about Manus and just other deep research tools in general. And the consistent theme that we talked about in this podcast is about knowledge in general, and just the level of depth that you're able to pull information from all over the world in the matter of minutes. So I've kind of been leveraging a combination of Manus and Gemini and Perplexity to pull together GPTs from some of the classes where you've taught us how to go about that, and the frameworks that you use, Jonathan, and just the sheer level of not just GPTs but entire suites of GPTs to accomplish what would have been a monumental task, like for example, creating a brand new school community from scratch and tackling every aspect of that, from ideation, validating the idea, to pulling together all of your roadmaps for content, and then just taking it one step further with each GPT along the way. And for me, I've been able to leverage those agentic type browsers, and specifically Manus, to just shortcut things that I alluded to before would have taken me months or years. It's just the possibilities are mind blowing.
Very cool. Anybody else have any other thoughts on that at all?
I've been using Comet, and I go back and forth. Sometimes I'm using it as my browser all the time, and sometimes I just open it when I want to try something. But I have actually had pretty good luck. I was finally able to get it to catalog all of my custom GPTs and get it to put them into a spreadsheet for me and give a description. And that took a little finagling because it didn't want to scroll all the way to the bottom, even though the bottom was there. But once it did it, it was much faster than I could have, and so helpful to have that spreadsheet. So I will kind of circle that back to what Ryan said a little while ago, which was, if the AI gets a little lazy or you have to push back a little, that's okay. Because I was like, no, keep going until it's done, because it is still new technology and it doesn't always maybe do exactly what we want. But with a little encouragement, I've been able to get it to complete some tasks for me that would have taken me quite a bit longer. So
very cool. Very cool. Well, I'd like for you guys each to take a couple minutes. We haven't talked much about your businesses, but we've talked about planning your businesses, how you got there. And I'd love to kind of unveil for everybody just a little bit about what you're doing. You got just a moment at the start, kind of a quick 30-second commercial, but you guys both all did a great job of not promoting what you're doing. I want to give you guys a minute or two now each. Clay, only a minute or two. And I should probably say that to Ryan more than Clay, shouldn't I? But I'm sorry.
That's fair.
By the way, guys, if you don't know, we've all been working together for the last year, I think, pretty much for all of us. Shannon, maybe 9 months. And so we know each other well. We like to tease each other a little bit. But take, if you would, again, we'll go ladies first. And Shannon, we'll start with you this time. Just tell us a little bit about the business that you started, how it's related to AI, and maybe how you've leveraged AI to make that happen, if you would. So Shannon, you want to kick us off?
My business is Ninja Media Works, and what I've started doing over the last, I'd have to count back, July 21st was my first digital training, and I did that on mastering your visual brand. And I expanded from there into teaching Midjourney, and then later also Ideogram. And then once my students were comfortable creating images, I started doing trainings playing off on how can you leverage those images into some kind of an income. So we've done some mini merch trainings and talked about things like we made stickers and coloring books. And just today we were doing ornaments, but now we're delving more into marketing and social media and being able to kind of take all those skills and put them together into a business that people can launch.
I love it. I love it.
It's not my
Shannon,
turn.
I got to ask you, though, because I know a lot. Go ahead, Clay.
It's not my turn. I'm not trying to go. Shannon,
But
you started this. You said your first digital training was July 21st.
21st. Yes.
So it's not been 4 months yet. And yet at the beginning of this, you said you've done how many trainings?
Well, I
over
just had
700
my
people,
seventh.
right?
I just
you
had
said
my seventh
700
training. Yeah.
trainings, meaning
Right.
you've trained 700
Like-
people in less than 4 months. And I think it's important
Yes.
to highlight what people can do if they put their mind
Yeah.
to it. Now, Shannon is a very special, energetic, like energy levels like no one I've ever met. But in 4 months, 700 trainings, I just think that's important to highlight.
Well,
I'm
thank
glad
you,
you
Clay.
did.
I appreciate that.
I was
Yeah.
going to just ask Shannon, there was probably never a time when you and I had a conversation about, oh crap, nobody's signing up for my course. What am I going to do? We never had any conversations like that. In other words, you launched hard, right? I mean, there were no problems. There was no trepidation. Am I
Well,
right on that?
I will say that I always aim really high because if you feel like you can, get up here, then you're going to work harder for it. So the
Mm-hmm.
first day that I met with Ryan in his program, I said, I'm going to make $1 million in AI this year because I'm trying to salvage a business that is a little antiquated and needs some help. So this is what I'm going to do. And I still believe that. And so that mindset is what gets me out of bed early every morning because it's going to be big. And so from go, it's been big. So I never would have 4 months ago told you that I thought I would be doing a video training that I think is going to have well over, I'm going to say it, 200 people in it, and I think it's going to because the people who've been taking my trainings, they're executing. And Jonathan will tell you that is our favorite thing. So
Hmm.
I have someone who took one of my trainings and she sold 4 videos after just taking my one-day training. She sold 4 videos. She monetized. That wasn't even what the training was. It was just teaching them this little bit. And that gets me going because that means that my heart is teaching and I can teach people how to execute. That's the best.
Well, I have no doubt, Shannon, that you're going to make that $1 million. The point I was trying to get to is that sometimes when we start, and I think, again, I'm trying to keep in mind our audience, sometimes when we start, we talked earlier about overnight successes that take years to happen. People think that it's this linear thing that we start off and we just, boom, you're out of the market. Sometimes when you start, sometimes it's rough. I mean, I've been doing this for 2 years. There's still moments that are tough. And I just wanted to hear from you. Did you have any of those ever tough moments along the way where you maybe questioned for a moment whether you were crazy for doing this?
Oh, of course, because other people's opinions come into it also, but there's nothing about the beginning that's ever easy. You don't have as many people signed up as you hope, and it doesn't all go so smoothly. I can't watch my first couple of trainings because the amount of times that I said or so, I was listening to them and then I had to just go, I'm not going to listen to them anymore because I'm not who I want to be
Perfect.
yet. Later on, maybe I will again.
But you got better with each successive training, right? Awesome.
Absolutely, because everything takes practice. You haven't done it yet, so how can you be good at it?
I love it.
If it
Joe,
helps, I
how
can't
about
watch
you?
your trainings either.
Oh,
Vote for Clay. Vote for Clay. I don't know what we're voting for. Maybe we're voting for him to be quiet.
I love it. I love it. Joe, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your business and who you serve.
Sure. So I have been building automations and custom GPTs for small business owners mainly on a one-on-one basis. And I am pivoting that here at year's end and into January into teaching people how to do the same thing. So teaching people more advanced AI and automation, building agents and automation skills. So.
I love
And
that.
just
That's fantastic.
on Shannon's comment, I have to remind myself quite frequently. I heard somebody say this one time, and they say, "It's not hard; it's just new."
Ooh, that's so good. That's so good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, it was, hard to ride a bike when you're learning how to ride a bike. It's not hard; it's just new. So.
Oh, yeah. I love saying it's like toddlers. Toddlers don't come out of the womb running around, but
Yep.
they roll over and then they crawl and then they pull themselves up and then they take a couple steps and they go boom and they keep taking a couple steps
Yeah.
and then they start running around the house like crazy. But they never give up in that process, even though it's hard. I love that. It's a great thing.
Yep.
Well, we're going to save Clay for last because I know Clay's going to want us to vote for him, even though we're not voting per se. Ryan, tell us a little bit about your
voting.
business and what you're doing.
Yeah, so Jonathan, you alluded to the fact that, there's a lot of people in our orbit who struggle with figuring things out. And that was definitely me when I got into this world. I came in thinking that my business would be one thing, and I learned very quickly that it wasn't going to be that thing that I thought it was going to be. And I actually figured out what it was going to be, what it turned into from the help of none other than Clay. So Clay actually he hunted me
Vote for
down,
Clay.
and he basically forced me to start my very first program to help him, as he put it, turn his knowledge into cold hard cash, because he definitely has no shortage of genius. And so that's what I figured out my area of genius was in this world. It was taking entrepreneurs who were just in a place where they were either stuck by a time or an income ceiling, and they needed leverage. They needed to get out of that one-to-one service model and turn it into like a scalable online offer that they could basically live life on their terms and still leverage their area of genius. So that's what I do now. I help entrepreneurs figure out what that looks like, build it, launch it, and scale it. And, you know, I've never been happier. I've also never worked harder at any point in my entire life. So I would tell anybody who's out there afraid to start, afraid to go and figure it out, you just have to take the first step. And luckily we have the AI tools at our disposal to help us at every step along the way.
Remind me, Ryan, I want to come back before we close about the AI has made everything easy, right? This is a 1 hour a day type business now. Because I know that's the other perspective that a lot of people have is that, oh, if I do this with AI, I'm going to be able to just work an hour a day and make a bunch of money. And that proverbial money tree will be in the back. So,
Now
Clay,
that-
tell us about your money tree, and we'll come back to that in a minute.
I'm still looking for that money tree, Jonathan. If you want to give me a map,
Really?
I'd appreciate
Well, if you
it.
find it, will you let me know, please?
Exactly. So I'm, my business is Lehman Strategic Partners. The long and short of it is I was not too long ago an overwhelmed, kind of burnout business owner. I thought I started my business for freedom, and I looked around and I was in a jail that I had built for myself. I was stuck, on vacations. I'm not vacating. I'm working. And then I'm at kids' games talking on the phone, trying to close deals. And, just all the old cliches of you started a business for personal freedom and yet you're trapped by that business. And so,
So true.
what I learned over the course of some hard knocks in a few years was how you can have both. You can have a scaling, growing, productive business, and you can, enjoy your life. And so that's what I try to teach, is that trying to show people who I was to then become, well, not necessarily who I am, but a better version of where they're at, find time freedom through either, it might be automations, it might be AI, but a lot of times it's just simple systems. So that's it in a nutshell, just teaching entrepreneurs how to build a scalable business while maintaining some degree of work-life. Well, work-life balance is a little bit of a myth, but you can enjoy your life and enjoy your work.
Yeah, I was going to say, in my opinion, not to go down a rabbit hole, work-life balance is defined by the person, not necessarily by society. And I think that's where
It's
we
a
often
relative
get
term.
messed up.
That's
It is very low.
Great point.
But I'd like to go back as we wrap things up and bring things in for kind of a landing. I'd like to talk real briefly and get each of your perspectives on that topic that Ryan brought up, which is now that you guys are having AI-based businesses, it's easy, right? I mean, it's 1 hour a day, maybe a little more, because I know, again, there's a lot of our listeners out there that have this perception that AI is this cheat code that, it wouldn't be right for me to take advantage of. By the way, I know that's not true. I know all four of you guys are working harder than you've ever worked in your lives, but you're also smiling more than I've ever seen you in your entire lives, which is pretty cool. Let's go in reverse order. We'll start with, I'll just go across, I guess, Ryan, Clay, Shannon, and Gjoa. But Ryan, give me your perspective as we close out. AI just makes everything really easy, right?
Yeah, I don't think that could be further from the truth. I was in a job where I had it made. I probably worked, you're talking real work, I probably worked 2 to 3 hours a day at most. And I not walked away, I ran away from that to what I'm doing now, where I work 10 to 12 hours a day, but I get more accomplished through the use of AI than I ever would have been able to at any other point throughout my entire life. And I've never been more fulfilled. So I 100% feel like I'm working towards the point where I'll be able to get back to where I can work 2 to 3 hours a day. But one of my very first coach in the entrepreneurial world, I think he put it best. You have to do the unscalable to get to the scalable. And this is a long-term thing, but it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something I'm bought into. And like I said earlier, I never would have been able to do this without AI. So that's my perspective.
I love that. Clay, how about yourself?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The irony, people will ask me now that I know so much about AI, am I working less? And the truth is, it's the opposite. I'm working much more, but I'm much more productive and it's much more enjoyable. And I mean, fulfilled is the right word. I just love what I'm creating and the engagement that it's leading to and the growth. And, I've always been driven by, this innate curiosity. And, it's so much fun to solve one puzzle and then move to the next. And I almost feel guilty at the end of the night when I'm closing my laptop screen down because it's a whole few hours that I'm not going to be creating stuff and finding out new cool things. So working more, producing exponentially more, and enjoying it that much more.
I love learning. Like I've always been someone who enjoyed learning, but I also like being able to execute on what I learn. And I think being able to leverage AI has made that so much easier for me. I definitely work just like everybody else in this screen room, 10, 12, sometimes more hours a day, but I am also having more fun. I get to create videos and create images, and I have so many people in my orbit now that I didn't before. And I have to just take a quick second and say, everybody that's on the screen, I hope you're all showing on the screen. Everybody on this screen, those are my people now. Clay, I fell into your orbit, and Clay dragged me into Ryan's, and I found Joa. And we weren't just pretending to be besties when we were in Dallas. Like we have all become very good friends. And I say all the time, and I actually made an image of it, of course, the other day, which is rising tides lift all ships. And I feel that that's true. That abundance mentality that you talk about, Jonathan, that's been in my heart my whole life. And I have never seen it as widely spread as I see it in our community with AI. Like there are so many great people that are helping me and that are lifting me up. And so to be able to do that with other people, that is the joy that makes those 12 to sometimes 14 hours a day, enjoyable. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Joa, how about you?
I think a lot of credit to expand on Shannon's goes back to your mastermind. Like we're really a close knit group, and everybody wants each other to succeed, even if we're doing the exact same things. Sherry and I do something very similar. I know she's not on the call, but she and I have a call every Monday helping each other. So it just the relationships that are built and that you have helped us forge in that close knit community has just been great. Yeah, but
Well,
yes,
thank you.
it's same thing that the rest of them say that, that I'm working more hours than I did before, but getting so much more done. And I'm so excited about my future and the future of these people that I want to teach and coach, and help them see the AI light and the
Absolutely.
automation ways, that they'll be able to make their own lives easier, too. So,
Fantastic. Well, I
yep.
want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining me today, for chatting, for sharing your story, how AI has impacted you, how it's made everything, all just what we call roses with no thorns. I'm just kidding. It's just, I know what a lot of people had in, but it has opened up a lot of doors and it has overall been an incredibly positive experience. And I just want to thank all of you guys for joining us. If you've been watching with us today, thank you for sticking with us as we've gone through these stories and heard some amazing successes. And I want to just encourage you, if you're on that verge of wondering, what should I do? Just take that next step and trust that when your foot hits the ground will be there. It's something you need to do, and I think you'll be happy when you do. We're going to be putting everybody's contact information below. If you want to reach out, let us know. Don't hesitate to reach out. I know each and everybody on this call would be more than happy to chat with you. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great day, and we will see you on the other side. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.